Picture this. You're walking through a zoo in Lusaka, Zambia. You turn a corner and come across a cage with a very striking notice on it. It reads, "The world's most dangerous animal." But when you look inside this cage, there's no fearsome beast waiting for you. Instead, there's only a mirror, and in it, you see yourself. Now that powerful anecdote forces a sudden, urgent self-reflection about humanity's impact on our Earth, doesn't it? It perfectly sets the stage for our deep dive today into our role as the stewards of this planet.
Welcome to this explainer. Today we are going to unpack Nani Palkhivala's truly seminal article, The Ailing Planet, the Green Movement's Role. Now, this was originally published in the Indian Express way back on November 24, 1994, but the issues Palkhivala raised regarding the declining health of our Earth, they are profoundly, undeniably relevant today. We'll be looking closely at this text to understand exactly how our world is changing and, more importantly, what we must do about it.
So, here is our thematic journey for today. We'll start with the green movement's rise, move into Earth's ailing biological systems, look at India's environmental crisis, discuss the population factor, and finally end with the era of responsibility.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the green movement's rise. Looking back through world history, it's actually hard to recall any movement that has gripped the imagination of the entire human race so completely and so rapidly. This unprecedented awakening actually started nearly 25 years before Palkhivala wrote his piece, in 1972, when the world's very first nationwide Green Party was founded in New Zealand.
What we've experienced since then is a massive paradigm shift. We have shifted from a purely mechanistic view of the planet to a holistic and ecological view. Palkhivala actually compares the sheer, staggering magnitude of this revolutionary shift in human perception to that moment in the 16th century when Copernicus first taught mankind that the Earth and the other planets revolved around the Sun. For the very first time, there's a growing global consciousness that the Earth itself is a living organism, a massive entity with its own vital metabolic needs.
And this new consciousness absolutely has to translate into action, which brings us to the concept of sustainable development. The World Commission on Environment and Development really popularized this concept back in 1987. They defined it exactly as you see here: development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Simply put, it means we literally cannot strip the natural world of the resources our successors will require. You and I have strict ethical obligations to be good stewards and responsible trustees of this Earth. Moving on to Section 2, Earth's Ailing Biological Systems. Early on, international commissions began addressing ecology. One such major body was the Brandt Commission, which notably had a very distinguished Indian member, Mr. L.K. Jha. And the first Brandt report asked a deeply, deeply unsettling question. Are we to leave our successors a scorched planet of advancing deserts, impoverished landscapes, and ailing environment?
To really answer that question, we have to turn to Mr. Lester R. Brown's incredibly thoughtful book, The Global Economic Prospect. He points out that there are four principal biological systems forming the absolute foundation of our global economic system. These are fisheries, forests, grasslands, and croplands. But as human claims on these systems reach unsustainable levels, their productivity is severely impaired. We are seeing fisheries collapsing, forests disappearing, grasslands becoming completely barren wastelands, and croplands deteriorating. And because of this catastrophic depletion, biologists reckon that millions of uncatalogued species continue to languish in ignominious darkness.
Focusing in on our forests for a moment, they are facing immense, unprecedented pressure. Dr. Myers aptly calls the tropical forest the powerhouse of evolution, noting that its destruction means several species of life simply face extinction. There is an incredibly powerful and somber idiom Palkhivala uses here, and it's one we shouldn't forget. Forest precede mankind, deserts follow. The world's ancient patrimony of tropical forests is eroding right before our eyes. Just consider the daily human cost in poor countries. Local forests are being decimated simply to procure firewood for cooking. The scarcity has become so severe that, in some places, as the tragic saying goes, what goes under the pot now costs more than what goes inside it. The fuel to cook the meal is literally more expensive than the food itself. And the global statistics are truly terrifying. James Speth, the president of the World Resources Institute, had to correct previous estimates of deforestation. He stated that we aren't just losing forests at an acre a second. No, we are losing them at much closer to an acre and a half to a second. Let that sink in for a moment.
Which brings us to Section 3, India's environmental crisis. Now, while various international commissions deal, inter alia, with the overall question of ecology, we really must look closely at our own nation.
In India, what causes endless anguish is the bitter reality that our laws are rarely respected, nor are they enforced.
The tragic irony of our situation is found right in Article 48A of the Constitution of India. It explicitly states that the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country. Yet, just like the laws against casteism and untouchability, environmental laws flourish, shamelessly ignored, completely and utterly unenforced on the ground.
And the numbers unfortunately back up this grim reality. A report by our Parliament's Estimates Committee highlighted the near catastrophic depletion of India's forests. According to reliable data, India is losing its forests at the staggering rate of 3.7 million acres a year. Large areas officially designated as forest land are virtually treeless, and the actual loss is estimated to be about 8 times the rate indicated by government statistics.
But broadening the scope back out globally, we see this definitely isn't an isolated issue. A 3-year study conducted by the United Nations using satellites and aerial photography warned that the environment has deteriorated so badly that it is now officially categorized as critical in many of the 88 countries they investigated.
Moving to Section 4, the population factor. There can be absolutely no doubt that the growth of the world population is one of the strongest catalysts distorting the future of human society. For the first time in human history, we are seeing a transcending concern. We are no longer just talking about the survival of the people, but the survival of the planet itself. Let's look at how this explosion occurred over a timeline. It took mankind more than 1 million years to reach the first billion around the year 1800. Fast forward to 1900, a second billion was added. Then, the 20th century alone added another 3.7 billion. By the time Palkhivala's article was written in 1994, the present world population was already estimated at 5.7 billion.
The reality really boils down to this staggering mathematical fact. The world population increases by 1 million people every 4 days. Now, while development is the best contraceptive, development itself becomes impossible if the present increase in numbers continues. The choice we face is really between the control of population and the perpetuation of poverty.
Looking specifically at India again, the population was estimated to be 920 million back in 1994. To put that massive number into perspective, that was more than the entire populations of Africa and South America put together. Unless population control is given topmost priority, the hope of the people will simply die in their hungry hutments.
Finally, Section 5, the era of responsibility. This environmental problem doesn't necessarily signal our demise. Rather, it is our passport for the future. The emerging New World vision has ushered in an era of responsibility, and it's fueled by a holistic, ecological view of the world as an integrated whole.
And industry has a most crucial role to play in this new era. Just imagine the transformation if more business leaders thought like Edgar S. Woolard, the chairman of DuPont. 5 years prior to Palkhivala's article, Woolard boldly declared himself the company's chief environmental officer, stating that their continued existence required them to excel in environmental performance.
You know, of all the statements made by Margaret Thatcher, none have passed so decisively into the current coin of English usage as her fallacious words on this exact topic. She said that no generation has a freehold on this earth. Instead, she emphasized, all we have is a life tenancy. And crucially, she noted, it comes with a full repairing lease.
We conclude today's explainer with these haunting and profound words from Lester R. Brown. We have not inherited this earth from our forefathers, we have borrowed it from our children. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. How are you managing your life tenancy? Are you preserving what you've borrowed? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.